Welcome back, students. We are going to continue our lesson number 3rd. Already in the previous video, we have learned about the commercialization of agriculture for mine, development in transport and communication system, decline of traditional industries in India, and what type of development of new industries took place in our country. Just introduction part of this point we have learned in the previous video. It means the situation was not proper due to the lack of British support or experience of management and capital. The Indian businessmen could not come forward in large number. Yet some of them built up their business by overcoming these problems or this situation. Now some examples are there. That is in 1853, that is Kawasji Nanaboy Devar started the first textile mill in Mumbai. This is the first textile mill started in 1853. In 1855, the first jute mill was started at Rishra in Bengal. This is the second achievement in the field of business or trade, we can say. And in 1907, Jamshedji Tata established the Tata and Iron Steel Company at Jamshedpur. So it means whatever problems were there, just Indian businessmen, they tried to build up their business by overcoming these problems, and they started to develop this business or these industries in our country. In India, coal, metal, sugar, cement and chemical industries came to be started. So such type of various industries started in our country. Whatever problems were there, these upcoming businessmen, they tried to overcome these problems and they developed this trade and business, Indian business in our country. So this is the development of new industries in India. Now next point we are going to learn, that is social and cultural effects. So whatever change was there during the British rule in our country. So what was the effect of this changing education system or the communication and transport system? So it affects on the social and cultural life of the Indians. So now today we are going to learn it, social and cultural effects. In the 19th century Europe, a new era took shape on base of values like humanitarianism, democracy, nationalism and liberalism. It means in 19th century, in the Europe, in the British or in this European continent, we can see new era took shape, new era started, which new era was based on the values. For example, humanitarianism. It means all the human being, they have to behave with each other as a human being. Live and let live. Such type of principles, such type of values, they started to introduce to the citizen. As well as they started to run their administration according to the values of democracy. They started to create the feeling of nationalism in their own nation, as well as they introduced the concept of freedom, liberty. Okay, so such type of change, such type of new era took shape in Europe in the 19th century. So this is the change we can say, and this change in West lead obvious repercussions on India. So whatever change was there, so the effect of this change we can see in India also. So this change obviously just we can see in the India also. For carrying out administration, the British had to understand the Indian society. Now whatever change took place in Europe, we can see the effect of this change. We can see the reaction Repercussions means reactions or consequences, effects of this change on India also started to change these all details. It means Indian people or Britishers also just they were familiar about these all values. So for carrying out administration, the British had to understand the Indian society, Indian culture, Indian traditions. For this purpose, they started studying the tradition, history, literature, as well as the music, flora, fauna of India. It means these all are the aspects of the Indian culture. And now British historian, they started to understand, they started to study these all aspects of the Indian culture. So in 1784, Sir William Jones, an English officer, established the Asiatic Society of Bengal at Kolkata. So with the help of this research center, we can say, they started to do the deep study about the Indian culture, about the Indian tradition, history, literature, music, flora, fauna. It means they were trying to understand this Indian culture very well. Next one, Max Müller, a German thinker. Now, one by one, all the historians, we can say, they started one by one, all the historians, they started to studying the tradition and history, literature, as well as the music, flora, fauna of the Indians. Another example, that is Max Müller, a German thinker, was a dual scholar of Indian religion. So this scholar, that is Max Müller, he started to do the deep study about the Indian religion, Indian language and history. So due to these examples, there arose feelings among newly educated Indians. So newly educated Indians, just they were introduced by this Indian culture, and it is possible because of the newly educated Indians to study Indian religion, history and tradition. Now these Indians who were well educated by the British education system, now they also started to learn about the Indian religion, Indian history and Indian tradition. So this was the change, we can say, during the British rule took place in our country. That is the effect, we can say. As well as the British introduced many laws in India. Whatever outdated traditions were there, just Britishers, they tried to remove this all outdated tradition by the laws. So they introduced various laws. For example, in 1829, Lord William Bentinck passed the Sati Prohibition Act. So this Sati, this was the tradition. Indians were followed this tradition, which is means we can say very bad tradition was there. So Britishers, they introduced such type of laws, and with the help of these laws they tried to remove this outdated tradition from the society. So in 1829, Lord William Bentinck passed the Sati Prohibition Act. Next one, in 1856, Lord Dalhousie passed the Widow Remarriages Act. So in our society or in our culture, such type of system was there that woman or widow, she has to live her life with the various problems. But these Britishers, they started to introduce some laws and they tried to change the social system. So accordingly, in 1856, Lord Dalhousie passed the Widow Remarriages Act. So these widows, these women, they can do the remarriages. So this also change, we can see, took place in the society, and she can live her life happily. So this is the part of social reforms. For carrying out administration in India, the British required English educated Indians. Now this is the next need of the Britishers. To carry out the administration of this vast country or India, Britishers, they required British educated Indians. They have to complete their education by the British educational institution. So for that purpose, just they have started according to the recommendation of the Lord Macaulay in 1835, English education started being imparted in India. It means various education institutions. Which institution will give the English education? They have started these institutions in our country. So according to the 1835, or according to the recommendation, according to the suggestion of the Lord Macaulay, in 1835, English education started being imparted in our country. So this is the change we can say in the education field. So through new education, Indians were introduced to the Western thoughts. Now this is the benefits, or this is the good opportunity to the Indian citizen, that they can understand the Western thought, modern reforms, science and technology. And with the help of this knowledge only, these Indian scholars, they started to create the feelings about the nationalism, about the patriotism in the minds of the Indians, and it is possible because of the education. Because of this, they have completed their education through this Western system. In 1857, universities were established at Kolkata, Mumbai, Madras, that is today's Chennai. So in these big cities, or developed cities, they have set up such type of educational institution, and through these institutions, Indians, they started to acquire the Western thoughts or modern reforms, science and technology. So this is the change took place in the field of education. So the Western education, Western educated middle class Indians lead the social reforms movement in India. So these Indian scholars who were well learned about the Western thoughts or Western educated, these middle class Indians, they lead the social reform movements in India. So these details we are going to learn it in the next lesson. With this we have completed our lesson number 3. Okay students, I am going to stop here. Goodbye everyone.